Welcome back to the Piaget Show, live from New York. I'm your host, PJ. Today's special guest is Ethan Corbett. He's going to zoom in from Dallas, Texas. Let's go to Ethan right now. Ethan?
Thanks, PJ. I really appreciate you having me on the show. I don't want to keep the people waiting, so why don't we just get right into it? Sounds good? All right, sweet. Let's do it. So I'm just going to start at my sensory motor stage. That's the first stage. It occurs from around birth to 18 months. It's when we kind of use our five senses to explore and learn about our environment. Every baby had their own unique way of exploring with their senses. I, for one, have been told that I like to explore in literally every way possible. My mom said that I would put stuff in my mouth, I'd crawl around, grab stuff. If you can imagine it, she said I pretty much did it. Object permanence is also learned in this stage. This is one of the biggest achievements of this stage. I was particularly attached to my stuffed koala, which I think this might be due to my younger self's lack of understanding of object permanence that made me think, hey, if I lose this object, I don't think I'm going to see it again. Babies also develop their motor skills and coordination in this stage. The average child learns to walk around 1 year. My mom said she thought I was always very, very coordinated, and she said I was athletic too for that age. And she said she thought I learned to walk a little earlier than normal, probably around the 11-month mark. At this time period, babies can also suffer separation anxiety. This can also be correlated to the concept of object permanence, as just like the stuffed animal, for example. If my mom left, before I developed object permanence, had this idea. I was like, I don't know if she's coming back. Which for me and other children too, it says it can cause issues at bedtime. My mom said that bedtimes are tough for me around this age. It'd take a lot of cuddles and love to get me down for the night. Children at this stage can also struggle with strangers, as it's tough for them to put strangers into an existing schema, which can cause discomfort. My mom told me, she said she thought I was always generally pretty good with strangers at this age. She said I was particularly good if either my dad or her were around. At this stage, babies also start to develop their linguistic abilities. They go from the babbling stage all the way to saying their first words and the two-word stage. My mom told me that she believes very early on I was trying to communicate just through simple morphemes, the shortest sounds we can make. And that she thought I started talking at a relatively normal age, maybe just slightly early. And she claims that my first words were mama and dada. In a child's development, it's also important to hit the critical periods, which are the important periods in development that are important to reach a certain milestone or goal in order to maximize one's development. My mom told me during the sensory motor stage that she believes that I hit all my milestones and had no real issues at this stage of being behind or anything. So I'll move on to the pre-operational stage. This stage occurs from the ages of 2 to 7. This stage will become slightly more empathetic. We have more of a concept for assimilating schemas. My mom said she thought I was always very empathetic and that I had a good understanding of other kids and whatnot and people's feelings. We can also develop a lack of conservation at this stage. Egocentrism is also something that's big at this stage, where children seem to think that everyone else shares their view. Of course, their view is right. My mom seemed to indicate that I always knew what my view was, and I thought it was clearly the best. But she seemed to indicate that she thought that I had an understanding that other people may have somewhat different views. But she made it very clear that she thought I always thought my view was the most important. Sharing is something that's developed at this stage. My mom said that she thought I was always pretty good at sharing. I mean, she obviously said that there are some things that I was a little less inclined to share than others, but for the most part, she thought I was pretty good at sharing. And as aforementioned, we were able to assimilate schemas better, which kind of explains why strangers become less scary at this age, because we can kind of understand them more. Which my mom said that I was always pretty good with strangers, as I mentioned in the sensory motor stage, and that this just kind of, the new cognitive abilities just made me even better. All right, the next stage I'm going to go over is the concrete operational stage, which is from ages 7 to 12. Our understanding of the world becomes more concrete, and our centrism can be expected to decrease, which means that we're able to focus on multiple things at the same time, or opposed to just kind of focusing on one specific stimuli. My mom said she thought my centrism definitely decreased around this stage. Furthermore, our grouping abilities of putting things in similar categories based on similarities at this stage is increased. My mom said she thought I was making these connections fairly early on. Another major development in this concrete operational stage was just more advancements in linguistic abilities, which this kind of includes stuff like improved semantics, improved syntax, and improved grammar. My mom said that she thought I was improving rapidly at this stage, and that overall is big progress. So in our final period, the formal operational period, which is ages 12 or older, we gained the ability to think more abstractly and understand both abstract and concrete concepts. My mom seemed to think that I had a pretty good grasp at this at the age, or even today still. At this age, it's also expected that we can start arguing, which my mom said that, as I mentioned earlier, she said I always knew what I wanted, so I wasn't afraid to kind of voice my opinion and fight for what I wanted. She said that I definitely was definitely arguing at this stage. Similar to arguing in this stage, we also kind of start to question more things. My mom said I was definitely already questioning things by this stage just because I was curious how my world works. Thank you for having me on the show, PJ. I really appreciated it. I had so much fun. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ethan. That was great. We hope to have you back on the show sometime soon. Good night, folks.